Michele, Coldwell Realty, and today I'm going to go over the basic disclosures that you would be given as a buyer before you decide to make an offer. Very rarely in today's real estate market will you be given disclosures after you make an offer. It's not common anymore, but it used to be really common that you would write the offer, go do the inspections, and get the disclosures and go, I don't want to buy this property. It's crazy. But today, all the disclosures are typically given up front to give the buyer a chance to check out everything about the property before they make an offer. So we're going to go into a typical link. This is Disclosure IO. You would be given this email link, and this is what it would look like. Then you would come into here and you would, of course, I'm looking at the owner's side, but it would be the same thing where you could view, actually you might see this view. So here's the basics, here's the cover sheet. So I'm going to start with the cover sheet. It's a little boring, but the reason I'm going to do it is because I'm going to tell you some of the disclosures we are actually not going to talk about today. This is my co-list partner here, and here are all the basic disclosures. So there's the preliminary title report, which I'm going to go over really quickly, the home inspection, the termite, the seller property questionnaire, and then the real estate transfer disclosure statement. Those are really the biggies. Those give the most information about the property. This would be, the home inspection would be failing foundation. The termite would be completely eaten apart. The house is just riddled with termites. And then here's say for instance, and it's true in this one here, is the seller has a dog. Maybe you're allergic to dogs, and even the fact that they were once there could be problematic. So this might be very useful to you. And then the real estate transfer disclosure statement. This typically goes over some of the bigger stuff, like somebody die on the property, more of the kind of the state required disclosure statements. But anyway, let's jump in. Okay, preliminary title report. This document does so many different things, but I will go past the name here. But this here is the taxes and assessments. Taxes are a lien against the property, and they are always number one. They always come before the loan, any other liens against the property, which would be a loan, anything else. The taxes are always first. Then you'll see that there's a loan here. And then if there are not, then you would see some other stuff like easements, anything recorded against the property you would see here. I'm sorry, I'm going through fast over some of it with the name on it just because this is a listed property and public right now, but I'm trying to keep it as private as possible. So here is just describing the property. So this is actually a written description. So then we're going to go look at the map description. So the property, I don't really have any way to mark this up, but I can tell you that this is the property here. This square here. This doesn't really mean a whole lot when you have such basic properties, but let me see if I can see in this map where it might mean more. Possibly here, as we know that there are no walkways, at least that I'm aware of. So this is probably some sort of alley that ran through here that's more than likely closed. But this would tell you if you bought this property, you would have to be mindful of this easement right there. Over here, you'll see one where there was just a divide between the properties. Here is, this could possibly be a water main that goes through here. All right, that's the preliminary title report. Also, keep in mind what this is for is this map and that written description are really the biggest parts of this, because that's what's tying this report. It's tying to this description and this map, and it's saying there's a bank loan here. There are some, there's no easements on here. What is recorded on here? There are some supplemental tax bonds that are recorded against this property. And that's letting the lender know that's all that's going on with this property. There isn't anybody else who has a lien on it. There isn't anybody else that has any rights to this property. And so the bank goes, yay, we'll loan on it because we don't have to worry about anybody or anything else. So that's really what it served. And it's basically, this whole thing is an insurance policy. And the title company is saying to the lender, this is what we're insuring. Could you imagine if you got a car and they had a picture of the car and all the parts? I guess the VIN number does that. And then they said, hey, we're loaning against that. Anyway, that's my rant. Okay, home inspection. This property is perfect to go over home inspection because there's really not much going on here. It's a very, very nice, easy property to go through. So here we have at the beginning is the summary. So this just kind of goes over everything the home inspector basically doesn't like. There's just stuff that they don't like. They feel that the care of the property is being impeded by some of these elements. So here it would be landscaping. A tree that's adjacent to the foundation should be monitored. Easy enough to do. The fascia and trim, there's moisture damage. We'll see that in the termite report. The side door is delaminating. That's actually, I don't believe that's a home door. That's the water heater door, but still it's a concern. It needs to be looked at. Outlets, all the exterior outlets had their covers compromised. So that's what he's talking about here. There's also wires for a hot tub connection that should be terminated better than they are. So that's exterior. Roof. Flashing has been added to the roof, which should be explained by a licensed roofing contractor. More than likely, they won't explain it. I have ordered a roof inspection on this property based on this, trying to figure out a little bit what's going on with the roof, just to make sure we send out those disclosures properly to the buyer. So typically, if a question comes up in the home inspection, that's why we like to do them early, then we go get another contractor to comment on what the home inspector found. You'd be surprised, but about 50% of things that a home inspector calls out, a specialist in that field often will go, no big deal. So it's kind of like getting a second opinion. And contractors in our area are not looking for more work. So a lot of times you can get them to stop by and give you an opinion, and usually it's a lot better, unfortunately to say, than in my earlier years where sometimes they would say stuff just to get work. So there's way to get good information about the house at this point in time. Gutters and drainage. Gutters always need to be cleaned. Galvanized water pipes. This house was built in 1971. Those are older pipes. This is not a big house, so the repipe on this would probably be fairly easy. It is on a slab, which we'll see in a minute. So, that's something to kind of consider when you're looking at an older home is what condition the plumbing is in. Shut the gas, shut off. That's so normal, but it's required. It's always required now that you should have something like that, or at least strongly suggested because of earthquakes. And I will tell you that I was in the last earthquake, and it was important to have it. Microwave, the handle's broken. Kitchen outlets, the GFCI protected outlet adjacent to the sink does not trip, so we have asked the seller to have an electrician come take a look at that. So these are pretty basic stuff. Toilet's loose. Oh my gosh, toilet is always loose. Every home inspection, the toilet is always loose, and they get used. Ceiling lights, some more electrical. Here's another fun one. This one is one that just me and the home inspector, we don't laugh about like haha, but it's always just kind of, oh yeah. There's always an open electrical junction box in every attic or crawl space. It's just always a thing. Crawl space is what we usually call underneath the house versus a basement, because we don't have a lot of basements around here. Now here's pictures of some of the stuff that he was talking about. I'm going to run through really quickly here. Here's some termite damage here at the door. That's from moisture. The reason that is a termite item, even though there's no termites there yet, is because termites love wet wood. So the home inspector is saying, hey, you should get that looked at because termites are going to be enjoying that. It's like basically dessert for them. This is what you kind of consider wood a chocolate mousse. Here's that door he doesn't like. And it could get replaced, or what I probably would recommend is an outdoor on-demand hot water heater and just skip all that altogether. Maybe even have a storage closet at the end of the day. Here's those receptacles. See, it doesn't have a cover. And here's that flashing material. He wasn't crazy about that. He was curious about that. This, what is he talking about here? Enclosed soffits. So he can't see the eaves. It's not about wiring here. That's cable. And here's just this picture of the roof. And that's about it. This one was pretty basic, but you can review this and kind of see it. Most people will be like, oh, okay, I get it. But there might be some questions here. So that's how you kind of take a look at them. I also recommend when you look at houses and you look at the home inspection, keep the age of the home in mind. Also, when you talk to me, I can usually give you a little bit of background on the seller. Some sellers like the really, what I consider the sexy stuff, like the bright, shiny kitchen where everything's really great, but you look underneath the sink and the pipe connections aren't great, or the electrical was done by a friend and, no offense, but it wasn't quite done right. Or there's the homeowner that's kind of more like me. I don't do a lot of flashy stuff. But if you look under the hood, everything's pretty tight because, I don't like water leaks. I like everything to be nice and tight in systems because I really feel that's where you really hang on to the value of the home is when you take care of all the kind of the little non-sexy stuff, because when those things break, they take a lot of money to fix. All right, let's head over to the termite. This one will be pretty quick. There's the bill. Okay, here's the map. These can be really hard to follow. This house is very basic. Like I said, it's on a slab, so that means there's no underneath. So this is pretty easy. Everything that he saw is right on the outside. I believe this is, because this is the back door. This will probably going to be that water heater cabinet. Some other stuff he sees here, and then this will be the roof here. And this was done by CADRE. Uriel is my favorite. I've been working with Uriel for 16 years. The guy can do it in his sleep. He's so smart, and he's pretty thorough. The other thing I love about Uriel is he's very, very truthful, and he will tell you. He does not hide anything to make the agents look better or mask anything about the house. He just does his job. So we found some evidence of dry wood, termites at the eaves, and then the attic. So let's go back. I'm going to go back real slow here. 2A, eaves, and at the attic. So here we will see eaves, and at the attic. Here's the attic, and here's the eaves. So that's how you look at a termite report. You can reference those numbers there. So he is saying fumigate. Anytime there's any active termite damage, they have to call out a fume. I believe it is a state law. So you can never, as a seller, say, oh, don't say in there that it needs to be fumigated. You can't do that. That's not a thing. But here, I believe he talks about, local treatment. Now here, he actually recommended local treatment. And the reason for that was because the deck at the back of the house came up so close to the house that you couldn't get the tint over and get a nice seal. So he recommended spot treatment. He didn't think anything was so bad that the deck needed to be compromised for the fumigation. Okay, termite damage noted at roof fascia board or rafter tail. Fungus damage noted at water heater closet. Again, that's where the door is getting damaged, that it's going to be inviting pests. So let's go back really quickly, and then that's the last time I'll do that. But we'll see 2C. 2C, here's those eaves. And then was that 3A is that door, I believe. Hopefully. Yeah, 3A is the door. Stucco below grade. The reason they don't like stucco below grade is stucco can actually wick moisture up into the home and actually into the framing, causing wet wood, causing termites to have another bowl of wood mousse. And then here we'll come down to the cost. Okay, fumigation provided on request. I can tell you it'll probably be about $1,700 to $2,000. Or what he liked for this property better was the $1,280 for the spot treatment. 3A is, of course, changing out that door. What was the other thing? 4A, that's probably going to be the loose toilet. Those are other trades. Those are just ones that he just doesn't work with, so that's why they're there. So you could see a report that looks like this and go, oh, well, it's not much. But those other trades could be, you know, a huge deck, which I sold a house with a huge deck that wasn't on its last legs, but it was going to certainly need to be put on the list to do, and it was going to be very high. I mean, in the thousands. So just because you don't see those numbers here doesn't mean that there isn't any more work to be done. That's just saying what he recommends as from his profession, his trade. Okay, we're going to get into the seller property questionnaire. No, we're not. Oops, sorry. We're going to go to the real estate transfer disclosure statement. This one's pretty brief. This one just talks about stuff they're really supposed to list and tell you according to the state. So these are all the items that they have to, let me clarify that. This is part of the civil code. So this is a required disclosure, like by law. Here's all the items in the home. And then here's some information about other things that were like clarifying. Here, common area is common adjoining would be fences. No other issues there. And that's pretty much there in terms of the state one. But this is one where this one came about because the other one, while required, it kind of left a lot of questions unanswered. So this form came up, I want to say it came up maybe 2 years into my career. Maybe it's 12, 13 years old. And it came from another form called the PRDS, which is used a lot in the Santa Clara County area. And it's just saying, can we get a little bit more information? So here we have, did she do anything on the property? Yeah, she put in a new dishwasher, a new toilet, new faucets, but she didn't do the main work that have been done, like who put in the crown molding and all that sort of stuff. She did not do that because there is crown molding. There's some shelves. I mean, the kitchen is obviously updated from 71, but she didn't do any of that. Even if it was done, she's not aware. I mean, she sees it, but she wasn't there for those repairs to make any comments on them. So all these questions are they aware? So if you come up with something and go, well, why didn't the seller tell me this? They weren't aware of it. And it's very often that I bring stuff up to sellers and the agents and just going, were you aware of this? And they're like, no, we weren't. And that's okay. That's why we do our due diligence. Which, keep in mind, in my videos, I always say, oh, you have to write an offer with no physical contingencies. You only get to read the disclosures before you write the offer, and But that doesn't mean that you can't do inspections or investigate the property. It just means if something comes up, short of being something really seriously not disclosed, it's kind of hard to get out of it once you release that physical contingency. But it doesn't mean that you have to stop asking questions and you just have to just take it on the cuff. You can still do some homework on the property. Her dog did pass away, but there was a dog living there at one point. So this is interesting. So there are sprinklers on the property. You can see here where she says yes. And you can see them, but she's never used them. So she can't comment on them, anything else about them. And then at this particular property, there is a church across the street. that was sold and multiple home construction has been proposed. We went to the city and they said, yep, multiple home construction proposed, nothing going on. But there's a demolition permit that's pulled and active, which we disclosed in our agent comments only because that was just what the city told us. We don't have anything in writing. So we want the buyer to go back and verify that. Here's some more where she said maybe in commercial zoning. We did find out this was in neighborhood commercial. Again, we put that in the disclosures I'll show you in a minute. And then the sidewalks included in the size of the parcel, but we weren't sure. We did talk to the city. We have not been able to figure that out, but it looks as though her whole parcel includes the sidewalk without an easement for the sidewalk. So it's kind of interesting and a little bit different. But anyway, that is a seller property disclosure. And then I'll show you the last one. We went down to the city and we asked them, what is neighborhood commercial? And we pulled this up and we disclosed all this. I can tell you that this home is in the zoning, but very little of these uses are they going to allow. It's an interesting thing. There's no way you're going to be able to put an auto supply store in this house. There's no way they're going to allow that. So that's kind of interesting. Again, sometimes disclosures are actually to bring up points of what you should be thinking about, and then you can ask more questions. Lastly, we're going to just hit the natural hazard disclosure really quick. This is our local one. It's geo disclosure. This is a local geologist that puts this together, and he is always open for questions about the Santa Cruz area. He is fabulous, and I would recommend reading his reports if you can get a hand on them when you're looking at a property. Here's the circle property we were talking about earlier. These are all the different zones it could be in. Welcome to Santa Cruz. This is all what we have here. We have a lot of different what would be like environmental zones. This home is not in very many of them. It's near a pathway that runs through, or basically train tracks, not very close, but nearby. Area zoned for commercial or industrial use. About 4 blocks from this property is manufacturing sites. And state level, this probably is within the California coastal zone. And why do you want to know that? Well, you could fall within the coastal zone if you want to do something different for your house, and you may need the coastal commission to give you permission to do any work on it. And that's the basics for that report. So that does it for a very quick as I could overview of disclosures. Here's some other stuff, but it's all what I call boilerplate, or just basics that get disclosed to you without a lot of detail. And that does it for the disclosures. And of course, if you have any other questions, comment below, like and subscribe, because there will be some more buyer videos coming, and they will get you through each stage of the buying process. All right, thanks.